Ever wonder why Texas is called the Lone Star State? It's more than a slogan. It's a warning, a promise, and a legend born from revolution, rebellion, and secrets long buried. Since joining the Union in 1845, Texas has kept its wild heart beating quietly, hidden beneath its highways and modern cities. But out here, beyond the familiar skyline, lie places older than the state itself, where history is carved into stone, whispered through the trees, and carried on the wind. Take Caddo Lake, for instance, a swamp so tangled in mystery, no one can even agree on how it formed. Some say it was an earthquake. Others say the Caddo people saw it in a dream. Today, bald cypress trees rise from the water like ancient guardians, their limbs draped in moss, their roots tangled in forgotten time. Then there's Palo Duro Canyon, where Lighthouse Rock has stood for centuries. But this isn't just geology. This is where Comanche warriors once rode, where buffalo soldiers fought and survived, where silence remembers what textbooks forgot. In the heart of Texas, the past rides on horseback. In Bandera, a bull waits behind a metal chute, still as stone, dust in the air, silence before the storm. This isn't a tourist rodeo. This is the cowboy capital of the world. Here, the cattle drives never ended. They just found new roads. But the real story, it's not just cowboys. It's what this place meant during the Civil War, how Bandera got its name from a Spanish word for flag, and how that flag flew over 6 different nations in Texas's turbulent past. Out in the hill country, horses still run wild, but if you listen closely, it's the land itself that speaks, of lost tribes, outlaw trails, and settlements that vanished without a trace. This isn't the Texas you see on billboards. This is the Texas, and that hides in plain sight. Stick around, because we're about to unearth the real Lone Star State, a land of mystery, grit, and stories still waiting to be told. They call it a lake, but Caddo feels more like a forgotten world. Some believe an earthquake in the 1800s cracked open the land. Others say it formed from a vision, seen by the Caddo people long before it ever existed. Spanish moss clings to bald cypress trees that rise from black water like time-trapped ghosts. It's the only natural lake in Texas, and no one can fully explain how it came to be. Beneath these waters lie stories of steamboats swallowed by fog, of oil booms that came and went, and of towns that were lost, then drowned. They call it the Grand Canyon of Texas, but Palo Duro is more than just rock and shadow. Before it was a state park, it was Comanche territory, a refuge during raids, and later, a battlefield during the Red River War. At the heart of it all stands Lighthouse Rock, a strange formation rising like a natural monument. But it's not just geology. It's a silent witness to centuries of survival, conflict, and ceremony. Down these canyon trails once rode warriors, buffalo soldiers, and settlers chasing promise and blood. Most people think of Texas as ranches and oil fields, but out here, in Monahans, the desert rewrites the rules. These aren't your typical dunes. This is a place where the wind shapes the land daily, creating a sea of sand that stretches far beyond the horizon. No trails, no signs, just shifting silence. But even here, life adapts. Horned lizards skitter between ridges, mesquite roots dig deeper than you'd believe. Some say this place is haunted, not by spirits but by time itself. Civil War deserters once vanished into these hills, and to this day, old railroad ties are found buried beneath the sand, as if the desert is hiding stories it doesn't want told. At first glance, Bandera is just a small town tucked into Texas hill country. But look closer, and you'll see the dust still rising from a different era. They call this place the cowboy capital of the world, not because of museums or souvenirs, but because this land was once the main artery of the Great Western Cattle Trail. Over 8 million longhorns thundered through here on their way north. This isn't a reenactment, it's real. Cowboys still saddle up here, just like they did a century ago. Horses move across the open pastures, and the land tells stories older than the barbed wire fences that try to contain them. In Bandera, the cowboy isn't just a symbol. He's your neighbor, your history, and your story. Here, rodeo isn't a weekend show. It's a rite of passage. And if you ask around, someone's uncle or grandfather still remembers driving cattle north. The trail dust, the river crossings, the lightning storms that turn the night wild. The gate creaks. A rank bull charges forward, hooves pounding, muscles twisting like coiled steel. 8 seconds. That's all that stands between glory and gravel. But this isn't just a sport, it's a ritual. In Bandera, bull riding is a bloodline. Every ride carries the weight of generations, from the vaqueros of old Mexico to the cattle kings of the hill country. They don't ride for fame here. They ride because it's in their bones. This arena, it's not a tourist stop, it's a proving ground, where pain is expected and pride is earned. But what most never see is the other side of Bandera. The quiet churches built by Polish immigrants in the 1800s. The ghost towns nearby that faded with the railroad, and the outlaw hideouts carved into the hills just beyond town. And the name Bandera? It means flag in Spanish, a word with weight. Some say a Spanish banner once marked this valley as a military line. Others whisper it was a boundary between warring tribes and settlers. Whatever the truth, the flag is long gone. But the fight, the pride, the spirit, they're still here. Because in Bandera, history doesn't just live on, it rides. Just when the dust settles, Texas changes tone. Out in central Texas, the Nueces River winds quietly through limestone cliffs and mesquite trees. Once a contested border between Mexico and the Republic of Texas, this river has seen more than its share of conflict. Today, it's a place of peace, where families fish, locals float, and the land finally breathes. But every ripple still whispers the truth. Texas was born in conflict, and baptized in rivers like this. At first glance, these fields seem simple, just rows of corn stretching toward the horizon. But in Texas, even the land hides more than it shows. These plains once held Native American trails, settler wagons, and Civil War supply routes. Beneath the soil, arrowheads and rusted tools still sleep, buried relics of a time before fences. And every harvest here isn't just food, it's a ritual, a rhythm older than statehood. This isn't just agriculture, it's survival. Out here, when the wind moves through the corn, it sounds like voices, like the land remembering. Just north of El Paso, the desert doesn't roll, it rises. These are the Franklin Mountains, one of the oldest mountain ranges in North America, carved from billion-year-old rock, older than the Rockies, older than Texas itself. But most Texans don't even know they're here. This isn't a distant wilderness. It's Franklin Mountains State Park, the largest urban wilderness park in the country, stretching over 27,000 rugged acres inside city limits. The mountains stay in the distance, but not in El Paso. Here, the Franklin Mountains rise straight out of the pavement, a billion-year-old spine of rock slicing through one of the largest border cities in America. It's the only place in the US where a major mountain range lives entirely inside city limits. One moment, you're in a downtown alley. The next, you're climbing ancient volcanic rock, older than the dinosaurs. Trains still cross bridges over the Rio Grande, just as they did a century ago, carrying cargo, secrets, and stories across the border. But these mountains have seen more than commerce. They've watched Apache warriors disappear into hidden trails, outlaws vanish across the ridgeline, and in World War II, soldiers trained in these hills before shipping out to war. Franklin Mountain State Park isn't just wilderness. It's a living relic, surrounded by concrete and neon, where the desert breathes and the city listens. Most Texans have never stood here, but from the summit, you can see Texas, New Mexico, and Mexico, all in one frame. A silent reminder that borders may divide land, but not the sky. They called her the Blue Ghost, because the enemy claimed she had been sunk 4 times, but USS Lexington kept coming back. Now docked in Corpus Christi, this floating fortress once launched missions in the Pacific during World War II. She saw kamikaze attacks, sea battles, and the sweat of thousands of sailors. Inside, the ship is more than metal. It's a time capsule, a graveyard, a museum, and if you walk her dark corridors alone, you might hear the footsteps of the past. Beneath the sun-baked plains near San Antonio lies a world untouched by time, discovered in 1960 by 4 college students crawling through a narrow crevice. The natural bridge caverns revealed a hidden kingdom beneath Texas. There's a place on the Gulf Coast where time doesn't race, it drifts. Welcome to Rockport, Texas, a coastal town where boats glide, winds speak gently, and life moves with the tide. Fishermen head out at first light, chasing redfish through shallow waters that barely ripple. In Cove Harbor, fishing boats ease into port. Their engines hum like a song the town has heard for generations. Above, the sky dances with color, kites filling the air during the annual festival. Locals gather. No big crowds, no noise, just families, friends, and wind. From the waterfront bars to the quiet marina, every corner here has a story, told slowly and told well. You won't find skyscrapers or highways, you'll find seagulls perched on rooftops, salty air, and docks weathered by time. And after Hurricane Harvey tore through in 2017, many thought Rockport would vanish. But this town did what it always does. It held on and rebuilt. Not to be something else, just to stay Rockport. In Texas, barbecue isn't just a meal. It's tradition, served on a tray. Brisket, ribs, and smoke, the flavor of the Lone Star State. Beneath the Texas hill country heat, there's a river that dares you to dive in. The Frio. Cold, fast, alive. At Garner State Park, adventure lives around every bend, tubing through limestone canyons, hiking steep trails with nothing but wind and wilderness ahead. For Texans, this isn't just a summer escape, it's a rite of passage, a wild place where the echoes of laughter bounce off canyon walls, and the water always runs just a little colder than you expect. Long before the skyscrapers of Houston or the tech of Austin, there were horns in the dust, and men riding the silence. The Texas Longhorn isn't a breed, it's a legacy. Born from Spanish cattle left behind in the 1500s, they survived centuries of floods, droughts, and predators, adapting with every storm. By the 1800s, they were the engine of the cattle drives, driven by cowboys across treacherous trails stretching from Texas to Kansas. Today, at the old stockyards, the echoes of that past still linger. Ranchers still gather at sunrise, where the pens rattle with movement, and the air smells of leather, dust, and history. You'll see Angus cattle, prized for their beef, raised for precision, and beside them, the Longhorns.
Long before Austin became the capital of Texas, this land was a trading ground for native tribes along the Colorado River. Founded in the 1830s, it was originally named Waterloo, but was soon chosen as the capital and renamed to honor Stephen F. Austin, the father of Texas. Over time, it evolved from a frontier town into a hub of politics, education, and commerce. At the southernmost tip of Texas lies South Padre Island, a narrow stretch of paradise where the Gulf meets golden sand. Known for its clear waters, dolphin tours, and wild spring breaks, it's one of Texas's biggest tourist magnets. But what most people don't know is, this barrier island once played a role in pirate legends, hurricanes, and Civil War blockades. Today, it's where adventure seekers come to jet ski, parasail, and watch sea turtles return to shore. If you're enjoying this journey through Texas's hidden side, don't forget to subscribe. It's free and helps us bring you even more untold stories and places most people miss. In the heart of East Texas, Houston rises, not just a city, but an engine of energy, trade, and transformation. Once a swampy outpost along Buffalo Bayou, it became a boom town after the 1901 oil strike at Spindletop, and never looked back. Today, these skyscrapers house some of the biggest energy firms and medical centers on Earth. But what most people don't know is, Houston was once almost abandoned, and it took a railroad, a hurricane, and oil to turn it into the giant it is today. Before there were skyscrapers, there was Buffalo Bayou, the muddy waterway where Houston was born. It carried barges long before highways, connecting this city to the Gulf and the world. Today, it cuts through a skyline of steel and glass, but it still holds the memory of floods, trade, and the city's untamed beginnings. Most locals drive past it, not realizing that this bayou once decided the fate of an entire city. Where the land curves toward the Gulf lies Corpus Christi, a coastal city named by early Spanish explorers over 500 years ago. Once a humble trading outpost, it became a vital coastal hub, now blending oil ports, naval history, and laid-back beach towns. With turquoise waters, man-made islands, and boats dotting the bays, it's one of Texas's most scenic escapes. Just off the mainland lies Padre Island, a stretch of sand that's home to the world's longest barrier island. But here in Corpus Christi, part of it has been reshaped by human hands. Man-made canals and cul-de-sacs form a coastal maze where homes line the water and boats sit just steps from the back door. In February 2021, Texas faced one of its most severe winter storms in modern history. Highland Village, usually green and mild, lay frozen under a thick coat of snow. Roads turned silent, trees crystallized, and life paused. Nearby, Lake Louisville froze solid, a rare sight in the South. Sunset Point Park became an icy overlook, unfamiliar even to lifelong locals. But what most people don't know is, This storm exposed deep infrastructure weaknesses that would change how Texas prepares for the cold forever. Founded in 1718 as a Spanish mission and colonial outpost, San Antonio is the oldest city in Texas. It began with Mission San Antonio de Padua and later the Alamo, a mission that would become a battlefield and a symbol of Texas resistance. Over the centuries, the city grew at the crossroads of cultures: Spanish, Mexican, German, and indigenous. By the late 1800s, it was a booming frontier town, trading cattle, cotton, and culture. Today, its streets and rivers whisper stories of revolution, resilience, and reinvention. Deep in the heart of Texas, whitetail bucks roam the brushlands and oak forests, wild symbols of the land's natural legacy. Revered by hunters and wildlife watchers alike, these deer are more than just game. They're part of Texas tradition, ecology, and economy. With over 4 million whitetails across the state, Texas holds the largest population in the U.S. Though native to India and Sri Lanka, the chital, or axis deer, has made a surprising home here in Texas. Introduced in the 1930s for private game ranches, they now roam wild across the hill country. As the Texas flag waves high above the Trinity River, with Dallas rising in the distance, it's a reminder: this state is more than just land. It's stories, spirit, and timeless pride. If you've enjoyed this journey through the unseen side of Texas, hit that subscribe button. It's free, and it means the world to us as we keep uncovering hidden wonders across America.